Hey, what's up, everyone? It's the Lemesis, your nemesis, but you can call me Lem. And welcome to Just Another Cheesehead podcast. I greatly appreciate you guys listening out there, watching me on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you're watching me on Twitch, hit me up with a follow. Let's get started. Today's a pretty sad day. I don't know about any other cheeseheads out there, but I have a lot of love for Aaron Rodgers. And I'm really sad today to see him go down last night against the Buffalo Bills. Only 4 snaps in. That's the news for the day. And what's sad is it's only going to last for a day, right? The NFL is what have you done for me lately? And that's why I wanted to make a podcast today, because I wanted to address some things, a lot of my frustrations with where I see the media, where I see the fans are on this topic, the people with the biggest horns, the loudest mouths, and I wanted to label today's podcast or title it "LeBron versus Aaron Rodgers." Now, some of you might be a little confused when I say that, but what I'm saying and all I'm saying in all simplicity is I'm comparing LeBron James to Aaron Rodgers. I'm comparing the decisions LeBron James made to the decisions that Aaron Rodgers made throughout his career. Now, if you guys know anything about me, I am not a LeBron James fan by any means. I don't have respect for LeBron James's career. Is he a great basketball player? Yes. You can't deny that. He's a special talent. Is he in my Mount Rushmore of all-time NBA players? Of course not. Is he the number one player to ever play the game? Of course not. We know that belongs to Michael Jordan. And I have a lot of other players ahead of him. But that's not what we're here for today. And I know a lot of you would hear that and go, oh my gosh, we're just going to throw him out the window. No, it's because I have a different standard for what I consider great. I don't consider, number one, the current league we have today in the NBA. I don't think the league we have today is great. Number two, I don't think our athletes are better today. That's been scientifically proven incorrect. And I love having this argument with people because they're very foolish in their reasoning. Athletes aren't better and faster today. If you look at the science, there's a really great TED Talk that actually goes over this. The things that have changed when it comes to sports is the equipment, the demographic, and, of course, the technology. So when you look at the guy who ran the 4-minute mile, he ran that on a totally different turf with totally different shoes, with totally different sets of equipment and weights to train. And when you compare, and the body types or the demographic of the individuals who ran it then are different now, which means there were people around that time that probably could have ran the 4-minute mile faster. They just didn't participate. So, if you just look at it from the scientific point of view, it's a very stupid claim. If you take the players of today and you put them in the old days, they would perform just the same like the players of old. And if you take the players of the old days and bring them into today's game, they would perform just the same as well. So this whole argument about the players today are better is a bunch of bunk. Just go read a book. Just check out some science and you'll understand it. So that's the reason why I don't take LeBron James' career in such high regard as much as a lot of other fans out there. And another good point is the competition isn't the same, and the rules are different. Today we just name anybody and everybody a Hall of Famer, and these guys they just have to have a name, right? They just have to be popular for a certain period of time. They don't have to actually win anything, and they just get into the Hall of Fame. So I mean, again, that's a whole nother bag of worms that we don't really need to get into, but I think I've opened up enough of that bag for you guys to understand where I stand on this. So I don't really have a lot of respect for his career, but I do think he's a great player, and I'm actually here to give LeBron James some love, believe it or not. because in my opinion, LeBron did it the right way. When you look at the choices that Aaron Rodgers made in his career compared to LeBron James, who's lost 6 times in the NBA Finals and only has 4 championships and has been swept several times, I would rather LeBron James's career over Aaron Rodgers' career any day. LeBron James, he looked out for himself, and he went where he could win. Think about that. He played in the Cleveland Cavaliers. The best player he got on his team was like Shaquille O'Neal. But his team had a winning record multiple times in the East. The East was so whack. It was just not good. He even took the Cleveland Cavaliers to the finals and got the brakes beat off of them. Couldn't do anything. So what did he do? He took his talents to South Beach. He joined up with Dwayne Wade. He joined up with Chris Bosh, took him from the Raptors, weak in the East. And he actually didn't even win the first year that he was there, but then he just started to win. He won several times with the Miami Heat after he got everything out of Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh was just wrapped up, and Ray Allen, betrayed the Boston Celtics and Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. What did he do? He actually went back to Cleveland. He went back to Cleveland and he re-upped, and they already drafted Kyrie Irving. He brought over Kevin Love, ran into the Golden State Warriors a few times. Again, those lumps came, but he won a championship with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He gave them a championship. He said, "Cleveland, this is for you." He won the championship. Then, after he got everything out of those guys, because he knew he couldn't beat the Warriors, he got that remarkable comeback, 3-1. And I hate to even use the word remarkable. I don't think that Warriors team was that great at all. I just don't. And, to me, you take that Warriors team, you put them back in the 90s with the rules, they're not winning 73 games. And to me, to claim you're the greatest team because you won the most games, but you didn't win the chip, you could have, at the very least, you can make the argument you're the greatest team if you won the chip, but you didn't even win the chip. Bro, these games are meaningless. They're not the same. Players aren't even playing every single game anymore. Guys are just sitting on the sidelines, and I know the NBA just said a lot about that just recently with, I think there's some kind of change or rule change that I just saw earlier today. But then LeBron James went to the Lakers and missed the playoffs several times. But during the 2020 COVID-19 bubble era, he won the championship. To me, that was a fluke. In my opinion, LeBron James is a 3-time champion. 4 is a stretch. I don't know how you look at that 2020 bubble and call that a championship. I mean, they played in like a gym, not like a arena. They played in a gym. There were no fans. The Milwaukee Bucks gave up because they didn't want to play because of something that happened in Genosha, some social issue that happened over there. So they just kind of gave up. A lot of teams were kind of deflated because of things that were going on in America at the time. And what happened? The Miami Heat made it to the finals and got trounced. They stood up to the giant and got beat. So you give it to him. LeBron James, he won his 4 rings. But again, LeBron James did it his way. He built the teams. He was the GM. He went where he wanted to go. He knew that he was going to get scrutiny no matter what. He knew if I went to the Lakers, or if I went to the Heat, or if I went to the Warriors, it didn't matter where I go. You're still going to hate me. If I lose, you're going to hate me. If I win, you're going to hate me. So guess what? It doesn't matter. Hate me anyway. I'm going to win. And at the end of the day, I can't believe I'm saying this. I have a lot of respect for that reasoning. I have a lot of respect for that mindset, because when you look at a player like Aaron Rodgers today, he looks kind of stupid. And I love Aaron Rodgers. He looks really dumb. And I look at LeBron James's career, who I think Rodgers gets compared to, and vice versa. And I would rather have LeBron James's career. I'd rather have all the hate, but at least 4 championships and 10 finals appearances and MVPs and the number 1 scorer in the NBA. I'd rather have all of that. And then, oh, you don't like me because I team up with other players and I win big. I don't win all the time, but I win. I got more than 1 chip. Yeah, I'll take that all day. I would take that all day. I can't blame him. Let's look at Aaron Rodgers. He was loyal. He was compliant. For the majority of his career, he didn't say anything. Then just recently, and let's just be honest, the real hate behind Aaron Rodgers came with his COVID-19 issues. When he talked about being immunized, when he made his claims, that's where the hate really, really came from. We're not here to make any proclamations. We're not here to get our video or our podcast flagged. But that's where Aaron Rodgers made the most stir. That's when he got the diva call. And the criticisms. Remember, LeBron made a couple comments also. But because LeBron became compliant, he was a little smarter than Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers didn't have all the winning. You got to remember, when you win a lot, the sins that you commit kind of go away, right? There's a lot of things Tom Brady could have done throughout his career, and because he wins, doesn't really matter. People just kind of let it go. For some reason, when you win, it just kind of wipes everything away. So when you look at how well the Jets performed last night, man, it makes you wonder how good the Jets could be this year. But we'll never know. The Jets looked really good without Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that offensive line was so atrocious. It's not even funny. Aaron Rodgers took 4 plays. He was 4 plays. 1 was a run play. Breece Hall ran that ball, looked super strong. The 3 other times, he was trying to drop back. They kept doing these cut blocks. I'm not going to lie to you. I've never seen that. And to me, it's the dumbest thing I've ever. I know it's the norm, and guess what? I'm just another cheesehead. I'm not an NFL aficionado, whatever the word is. I'm not an expert, but I've watched football for many, 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 many years. And maybe this is just something bad teams do, right? I'm a Packer fan, and I've watched a lot of football around the league, but I have not seen this concept of you're going to throw the ball fast, so I'm just going to cut block, drop down to the ground, give the edge rusher a free opportunity to hit your QB. And clearly, Rodgers didn't know that was going on. He was not on the same wavelength as the tackle on the left there. And he got hit. And he got carried down. And he planted his left foot. Achilles, gone. And he's out for the season. But even with all of that, I mean, we saw it. You could feel it. All the way from New Jersey to where I am in North Carolina. You could feel it all over the world. The whole stadium was deflated. I was deflated. I'm not a Jets fan. And I was deflated. I wanted to see, when Brett Favre went to the Jets, I was all about it. Because, again, he's not playing in the NFC. He's not competing against the Green Bay Packers. When he went to Minnesota, that pissed me off. It was like, bro, what are you doing? You know what you're doing, dude. I get what Green Bay did. And that's the thing I think what makes me mad as a Packer fan is people don't remember that Brett Favre was so angry at the organization. He got traded to the Jets, played 10-plus games, got injured. For the first time he couldn't play in his career because he had that long streak. And he was so angry at them, he went to Minnesota just to beat us. And now look at the issues Green Bay has had with Aaron Rodgers. And for some reason, we think it's the player that's the problem and not the organization. What's the common denominator? The front office is the common denominator. Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre weren't they weren't quite buddy-buddy for many, many years. So they're not in cahoots trying to get after the organization. They became friends later down the road, but the common denominator is the front office. So when you're loyal, compliant, and a company man, and then you just speak on behalf of how players were treated, mistreated, as they weren't given opportunities. All Rodgers really was saying was there were guys I wanted on the team that you kicked off the team. And then when you kicked them off the team, you kicked them off the team unceremoniously. You didn't treat Clay Matthews the way he needed to be treated. You didn't treat Greg Jennings the right way. I know Greg Jennings is such a hater of Aaron Rodgers, but you didn't treat Greg Jennings the right way. You didn't treat James Jones the right way. You didn't treat Jordy Nelson the right way. There are so many players on our team that I think that Aaron Rodgers was pointing at that you just disrespected. Guys who help us win in Green Bay, you just threw them to the wayside like they were chaff. And the thing is, our organization is different. Our team is different. We don't have an owner. I'm a part owner. Now, there's no financial gain I get from this. I just get invited to, events that occur in July. But, you got to respect our players. Our players are the reason why we win. And when you look at Aaron Rodgers getting traded to the Jets and the Jets being as loaded as they are and seeing him go down the way that he went down, it makes you wonder how great the Jets could be this year. In my opinion, I know this might sound it might be a stretch. I don't think it's much of a stretch. I think, man, I honestly not going to lie to you. I see the Jets just running it. I really do. I see them losing maybe 3 games, barring injury, somewhere around there. That defense was stout. Do you understand the Buffalo Bills were one of the top offenses in the league last year? Now, you can say this is the first game of the season. I'll give you that. But remember, the Bills, they beat the Bills last year with Zach Wilson. This defense was stout last year. They came in the Green Bay and stomped us. So I think the biggest issue is, I'll say this for sure, if the Jets get an offensive line and they get another quarterback, if they get like Kirk Cousins, and an offensive line, they win the Super Bowl. This is one of those defenses like the San Francisco 49ers that their defense is just so stout, they're a force to be reckoned with. And the 49ers are still pretty good, so I see them coming out of the NFC as well. This Brock Purdy kid, Mr. Irrelevant, we don't really know much about him, but if he ends up doing what he did last year, just doing the same, the 49ers are going to be a real team. To me, if Rodgers was still playing and he wasn't out, it was going to be, to me, the Jets and 49ers. That's where I was steering. Like, man, we're about to see a Jets-49ers Super Bowl. And then we're going to get the whole, Aaron Rodgers making his comment about the 49ers, making a mistake, passing up on him. And then it'd be like the big story. Like, if Rodgers wins, was it a big mistake for the 49ers not to pick him up? Yeah, I think he would get the ultimate, bump you right to your face, right? So my biggest reason for making this podcast right now is that we don't appreciate these players until they're gone. And that's why I make the comparison to LeBron James and Aaron Rodgers, because I think that's something LeBron James knew all along. So he said, I'm going to carve out my career. I'm going to do it my way. And when I do it my way, if I get the scrutiny, then at the very least, I know I did everything I wanted to do, everything that I could do. And I respect that. I really do. And this is the thing that bothers me so much is that, again, as Packer fans, we don't appreciate our players. We didn't appreciate Brett Favre when he was here. I was just as hard on Aaron Rodgers as I am on Jordan Love. I just think I'm right about Jordan Love, and I don't think he's going to be great at all. But then we're so quick to kick Aaron Rodgers out. He's a 4-time NFL MVP. 4. The only other quarterback who's ever had more MVPs is Peyton Manning with 5. And then Brady had 3. With all his rings, he only had 3. Says a lot, don't you think? And here's the thing. Look at the teams. I want to go over the teams who haven't had a good quarterback, or at least go over all the teams and their great quarterbacks. Because I want you guys to understand right now, this league, in my opinion, is in danger. I don't think this NFL league is a good league to look forward to. Who's the only great quarterback, proven, that's left in the league right now? Proven. Patrick Mahomes. That's it. Let's not talk about Kenny Pickett. Let's not talk about Josh Allen, how terrible he looked. Let's not talk about Lamar Jackson, who probably won't stay healthy his entire career because he's Michael Vick 2.0. And Michael Vick didn't win it all. Let's not talk about Russell Wilson, who looks so terrible without the Legion of Boom. Let's not talk about, you can go on and on. Joe Burrow, Mr. $275 million man. Why did you pay him that much when all he did was take you to the Super Bowl once? Oh my goodness, what a knee-jerk reaction. It's so foolish. I like Joe Burrow, but is he worth $275 million over 5 years? Hell no. What's wrong with you? Why are you making such foolish decisions? He's done absolutely nothing. Justin Herbert can't barely even grow a beard. And you trying to bank on these guys to be the future of the NFL? Jalen Hurts, Deshaun Watson with his 50, massage therapist. What's wrong with you, bro? These guys aren't good. And then there's maybe hope. Maybe San Francisco's got something with Brock Purdy. Who knows? Then you got these new guys who just come out the woodwork, so you don't know how they're going to do. But, my gosh. There's been so many players who've come and tried to stand behind center and make themselves well known, and very few have been able to live up to the likes of Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. These guys are Patrick Mahomes. These guys are legit. And unfortunately, it looks like it's just going to be the Mahomes show, right? As soon as, and honestly, good for Andy Reid. Andy Reid worked really, really hard. He had Donovan McNabb, went to the NFC Championship game so many times with the Eagles, couldn't do anything. He gets over to the Kansas City Chiefs, and then he gets his quarterback, and then the rest is history. And now it's looking real good, right? It's looking really, really good. You don't have a great quarterback like Rodgers in your way, and you already beat Burrow. You already beat Allen. These guys suck. They're not getting any better. Joe Burrow couldn't even put up a touchdown in the first week. Josh Allen had 4 turnovers yesterday. He's had the most turnovers in the league since he's been drafted. That's insane. And those are the 2 QBs that are noticeable. And then they're talking about Justin Herbert on the come up, but we know the Chargers ain't going to do anything. So stop it. And Lamar Jackson, everyone wants to talk about him like he's so great, but bro, you going to get him a broke down Odell Beckham Jr. and think somehow that's legitimate, that gives him an opportunity? Nah, he's going to be a one-man show, running all over the place, trying to make plays, and God forbid something bad happens to him, because when you play like that, your career is short-lived. And to me, his window of opportunity to win was in his first 3 years. and look how hard it was to even get him paid. That's the stuff that makes me laugh. As a black quarterback, he outperformed. I remember his first year, he looked terrible. And then he came out guns blazing. Now, he didn't take his team to the Super Bowl. I get that. But I'm pretty sure he took his team to the championship game and lost. And I think he deserved, if Joe Burrow got that kind of money, I think Lamar earned it as well. But look how he had to pull teeth just to get that kind of money. I don't get it. You guys don't make any sense. If you're willing to pay just everybody and anybody that kind of money, why are you so hesitant over here, but you're not hesitant over there? I just don't get it. But I want to go through all the QBs that nearly every QB that was noticeable to mention. And this is the point that I want to bring up, that like you guys don't appreciate these players until they're gone. You don't. And that's why players like LeBron James, in my opinion, the hate on LeBron James is justified because he's doing it his way. From that perspective, it's like it's an equal playing field. Like, all right, we're going to hate on you, but you're going to do what you want to do. You're going to win when we don't want you to win. That's fine. At least you're doing it your way. But Aaron, despite his stupid COVID-19 debacle nonsense, I don't think he deserved the criticism he's received. I really don't. This man's personal life has been put out on the air. He's had some stupid teammates like Greg Jennings come out, and Donald Driver has made some comments in the past talking about, it's mainly been Greg Jennings and Jermichael Finley. And then we're not going to talk about how Jordy Nelson has backed him up. A.J. Hawk has backed him up. James Jones has backed him up. Mike McCarthy has backed him up. Randall Cobb has backed him up. Alan Lazard. Not only did old players back him up who played with him during the time where Greg Jennings was there, new players. And then Greg Jennings, his only complaint is Aaron Rodgers didn't back him up to get a new contract when he was up for contract. If you'd have gotten that contract, you would have heard nothing from Greg Jennings. And then Jermichael Finley just really mad at himself because he couldn't stay healthy. He had an awful injury, and Aaron talked about how he was there, and look how these men treat him. The disrespect. Just because you bitter. And Greg Jennings made a name for himself because he rode the coattails of Aaron Rodgers to relevancy, to being on the media. And what's going to happen to Greg Jennings? He's going to fade into black because Aaron Rodgers isn't there anymore. No one cares about your opinion, Greg Jennings. No one cares about your opinion, Jermichael Finley, when Aaron Rodgers isn't in the league. So you even hurt from that. Because the only reason why they brought you on TV was to hear you talk trash about a polarizing figure. And you didn't appreciate his greatness. You're the only reason why he's the only reason why you're a champion. And how can you be that disrespectful to someone who's done so great things for you, great things for our team? That's the reason why I get so annoyed at not only players like Greg Jennings and Donald Driver mentioning in the past. He wasn't so vocal, but mainly Greg Jennings and Jermichael Finley. And then you hear these stupid fans. And it's like, bro, you guys don't understand. Let's go through all the QBs that were great for their team. And then let's also talk about, like, how many years in between did they have nothing but dead silence? So we start with the Arizona Cardinals. Jim Hart, Carson Palmer, Kurt Warner. Jim Hart, Carson Palmer, Kurt Warner. I'm pretty sure Jim Hart won a championship, or Jim Hart was really good for them. But then the next great QBs they had was Kurt Warner and then Carson Palmer. And they didn't win. Kurt Warner went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We watched that game. I think it was Santana Holmes or Moss or whatever his name was, who caught that ball at the corner, right corner of the end zone. It was a great game. Arizona hasn't had anything. Is Kurt Warner as good as Aaron Rodgers? Is Kurt Warner as good as Tom Brady? No. You might want, let's put it this way. If Jordan Love was Kurt Warner, I guess I would be cool with that. I'd be cool with that. But unless you have the greatest show on turf, and I don't see Romeo Dobbs and Christian Watson and Reed turning into the greatest show on turf with Marshall Faulk. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. And I know Kurt Warner, he worked hard. He played well. I got a lot of respect and love for Kurt Warner, but he ain't no Aaron Rodgers. He ain't no Tom Brady. He ain't even really that much of a Drew Brees, because at least Drew Brees stayed in the league longer. Just saying. Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan and Michael Vick. None of them won, guys. I think you're going to start seeing a trend. If I get anything wrong, I know for sure it's going to be guys who played before my time. But the point that I'm going to make right now, because I'm not going to pull up the article and read it. I just got the names here. And I need you to understand that, like, man, these guys didn't win. As great as their name is, they didn't win. So not only do you have to have a great QB, you have to have a great QB that wins. Which means the team has to be good around that great QB. And I think the biggest issue we've had in the last 20 plus years is the Patriots. Tom Brady and the Patriots have set an unrealistic expectation of what the football league is actually about. The NFL is not just run the gauntlet and you win. I mean, the guy went to the Super Bowl like 10 years. He played 20 years he played 20 years over there, and he went to the Super Bowl 10 times. Bill Belichick in that defense. Tom Brady, for the most of his career, I want to say it was something crazy that like 3 to 4 times in his entire career he didn't have a defense that wasn't in the top 10. That's insane, like on points allowed. That's insane. And I think Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees and Peyton Manning, they had that like 3 times their careers. It was like the reverse. And this Jets defense, man, they looked amazing. But to me, it's partially Josh Allen is trash, and it's just us bloviating about these guys when they haven't really done anything. The Baltimore Ravens, they had Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson. Joe Flacco had that unbelievable run to the Super Bowl where the guy had like 11 touchdowns, 1 interception, or I don't even think he had an interception. He was just so good. But it's Joe Flacco, guys. The best the Ravens have had is Joe Flacco. Come on. You don't want to be the Baltimore Ravens. The Buffalo Bills, Jim Kelly and Josh Allen. Y'all saw what Josh Allen did last night. Jim Kelly went to the Super Bowl 3 times. And he lost every time. If that guy just wins 1 Super Bowl, I think people are talking about him. But he lost 3 times in the Super Bowl. Carolina Panthers had Jake Delhomme, Cam Newton, and Steve Berline. Now, Berline was before my time, but I saw Delhomme and I saw Cam Newton, and I live in North Carolina. That's trash. If you got Cam and Delhomme as your number 1 QBs to ever play, and I guess Berline, but he's such a long time ago that it's not that relevant. It's like, man, they haven't had a good QB in a while because I'm not looking at Cam Newton and Jake Delhomme as like, wow, those guys are greats. Yeah, Cam Newton took him to the Super Bowl and lost because he couldn't jump on a fumble, and he had the MVP doing his little Superman thing. But other than that season, what else was Cam? Like, again, just because you come into the league and you take it by storm because you're like, Michael Vick 1.5 doesn't mean anything if you can't win the chip. It just means you're super fast, you're super athletic, and you're strong. Okay. How does that translate to wins? It doesn't. The Chicago Bears, Jim McMahon, Jay Cutler, and Justin Fields. My guys. McMahon back in the 80s. Jay Cutler. The fact that I have to even mention Jay Cutler. The dude just looks unenthusiastic. He just got that look like, I don't want to be here, but I'll take this check. He just always looked like that. Oh, my goodness. Cincinnati Bengals. Ken Anderson, Carson Palmer, Boomer Esiason, and Joe Burrow. I think Ken Anderson was good. Carson Palmer, Boomer did take him to the Super Bowl. So did Joe, but they both lost. So, again, if that's what you consider great, I mean, in my opinion, you don't. Like, I'm not happy if I get another Boomer. I'm not happy if I get another Carson. I'm just not. And I'm not happy if I get a Joe Burrow either. Because in my opinion, Joe is accurate with the football, but if Aaron Rodgers, who's the greatest thrower, was on the Green Bay Packers and he got them to multiple NFC championship games, but because their defense, he couldn't do anything, Joe Burrow isn't better than Aaron Rodgers. Carson Palmer isn't better than Aaron Rodgers. Think about that. Boomer Esiason is not better than Aaron Rodgers. Brady is not better than Aaron Rodgers. And I promise you, you put Tom Brady on that team, we don't go to the Super Bowl. You put him on the 2010 team, we do. But you don't put him on those teams Aaron Rodgers was playing on, and we go to the Super Bowl. Our defense gives up 20-plus points on average. It was like 30 up until the San Francisco game that we lost where we only put up 10 points on, and they put 15 on us. On average, our team gives up over 30 points a game in the playoffs on defense. That's a fact, guys. Look it up. Then you have the Cleveland Browns. They got Deshaun Watson and Brian Seppi, or I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Again, he's before my time, no disrespect. I looked a little bit up of his history. He was pretty good. But how many years ago was that? Just think about it. If you don't know who I mention when I mention their name, just think about how long ago this guy probably played. And then take that in comparison to not appreciating these great players when we have them. The Dallas Cowboys had Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman, and now Dak Prescott. The Denver Broncos had Peyton Manning, John Elway, and Russell Wilson. Now, when you look at Dallas, Staubach and Aikman were great. Aikman just had that amazing Cowboys line, Emmitt Smith. You know, he's not like, there's not that many great quarterbacks, so yeah, he would have to make like, you know, probably a top 15 just because how many Super Bowl rings he has. But let's not act like he was the greatest thrower of the ball. He was not. Roger Staubach was pretty good. Then you look at the Denver Broncos, they're just sharing Peyton Manning, right? But it's really John Elway and Russell Wilson, and even they're sharing Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson wasn't even that good either. So really it was just John Elway. The Lions had Matthew Stafford and Greg Landry. The Packers had Bart Starr, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, just to speed this up. Houston Texans, Matt Schaub, Deshaun Watson, and now the new C.J. Stroud. The Indianapolis Colts had Peyton Manning and Johnny Unitas, but between Peyton Manning and Johnny Unitas is probably like 30-plus years. Jacksonville had Mark Brunell and Trevor Lawrence. They still not good. The Chiefs had Lynn Dawson, who was good, and Patrick Mahomes. How many years in between there? The Raiders had Ken Stabler, Jimmy G, Derek Carr, and Jim Plunkett. Plunkett and Stabler were good. But again, many years in between when you get to Derek Carr and Jimmy G. The Chargers, Phillip Rivers and Justin Herbert, still no production. The Rams, Kurt Warner, Matthew Stafford. And I mean, those many years in between. Kurt Warner played in the 90s. Matthew Stafford just recently joined and won. Miami Dolphins have Dan Marino and Tua Taiola, however pronounce his last name, but he hasn't done anything. Vikings had Fran Tarkenton and Kirk Cousins. Fran was good, but he didn't win a championship. Patriots had Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady. But again, those guys played together. Shortly, literally, Tom Brady took over Bledsoe because he got hurt. So, like, how bad were the Patriots before Drew Bledsoe? You got to understand this, guys. You really need to hear this. Eli Manning and the Giants, Phil Simms, Joe Montana, Chad Pennington, and now Aaron Rodgers, who only played 4 snaps. The Eagles had Donovan McNabb, Ron Jaworski, and Randall Cunningham. And those guys didn't do anything. Remember, these guys aren't even that great. They're good, but they weren't great. You know, Namath was great. Like, we'll go through the names of the great ones afterwards. Steelers had Terry Bradshaw, Ben Roethlisberger, and now Penny Pickett. The 49ers had Steve Young, Joe Montana, Jimmy G, and now Brock Purdy. Seattle only had Russell Wilson, and that's really the Legion of Boom. The Bucks had Doug Williams, Tom Brady, and Brad Johnson. I mean, come on, Brad Johnson, guys. And then the Titans, who were the Houston Oilers, had Steve McNair and Warren Moon. And lastly, the Commanders, who were once the Redskins, had just Joe Theismann. I want to say Doug Williams played for them too. But that's all they had. Now let's go through, in my opinion, the great quarterbacks that ever played, not barring the fact that I don't know some of these older guys. So we got Jim Hart on the Arizona Cardinals. And we keep going. We're in Cincinnati. We're in Cleveland. So then I'm throwing in Roger Staubach. I'm throwing in Troy Aikman. I'm throwing in Peyton Manning and John Elway from the Broncos. I'm not picking Matthew Stafford. Then you got Bart Starr, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. You know, so like, how many teams are we talking about here? We're talking about, we picked Jim Hart just because I read up a little bit on him. So Arizona, but even do you pick them as known to being as a great team? No. Then you go straight down to Dallas was a great team or had great teams. Denver at one point had great teams and a great QB. The Packers, of course. And then you go to Houston. Nope. Indianapolis Colts. You pick them. You skip over Jacksonville. You pick the Chiefs just because of the recency. That's 5. Then the Raiders. I'll give you the Raiders at 6. Chargers, no. Rams, no. Miami, no. Vikings, no. Patriots, 7. Saints, I mean, they only had Drew Brees, so I wouldn't count them. The Giants, I'll make them 8. Jets only had Joe Namath. Aaron couldn't stay on the field. Steelers are 9. 49ers, 10. Seattle, Russell Wilson, just the 1 Super Bowl. The Bucks, Doug Williams and Tom Brady, and then Brad Johnson. I'm not saying they're a great team. They had many years of just being terrible. Then the Titans and Commanders. So let's say, just a rough estimate, there's 32 teams in the NFL. And out of 32 teams in the NFL, we can say on average, maybe 10 teams have actually had really great QB play over a consistent period of time. 10 teams, y'all. That's insane. That means 22 teams in the NFL have been trash for the majority of their existence or their entire existence. So that's what I need you to understand. That's what I need you to get in your head. That's what I need you to understand, that these players need to be appreciated when they're playing. Aaron Rodgers is out for the year. And in my opinion, if I was him, I don't think I'm coming back. Bro, like, you know, you're 39 years old. You're going to come back at 40. And you couldn't hold up at 39 4 plays in with that awful offensive line. If he comes back, they need to bring everybody. I mean, they need to shore up that line. He needs to be able to sit in a recliner and sip some tea, get some of that boba tea, and just sit and throw the ball and not get touched once. Because if you have that same O-line coming back, because look how Zach Wilson ain't no Aaron Rodgers, but he couldn't even throw the ball back there. It was so terrible. My wife and I were laughing while we watched this little rascal run around. Little guy. He was just this little guy running around, just running for his life, going towards the sidelines. He was doing everything he could. And I didn't watch the Jets last year, but I tend to think if the offensive line was that bad, bro, it wasn't Zach Wilson's fault at all. So I'm telling you, man, LeBron James had a better career. Everybody, unfortunately, I hate to say this, should be looking to LeBron James for how they should conduct themselves. He did the I Have a Dream or something, what do you call it? The Promise School thing, which was great. Absolutely fantastic. Probably the most notable thing LeBron ever did. You know, despite winning his 4 championships, I don't think we're all that great. But I don't want to keep taking, zingers at him. My whole point is the way he played, the way he lived out his career, and he's still doing it right now, I think is better than what Aaron Rodgers has done. And it's a shame because, Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback we've ever seen. And I don't know if anyone's going to come close. I know people want to talk about Patrick Mahomes, but my goodness. I mean, Patrick Mahomes had his weapons, and he still hasn't accomplished the things that Aaron Rodgers has done. Yeah, you can give him the 2nd Super Bowl ring and the 2nd Super Bowl MVP, but That's a team sport. That's a team accomplishment. Let's be real, right? Dan Marino didn't have some of these teams. Dan Marino probably should have 6, 7 Super Bowls as well. How many times, just look it up. How many times did Brady throw 3 to 2 interceptions in a game and win? And still win. He still won when he would throw 3, 4, or 2 interceptions in the game. If Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees or Peyton Manning do that, their teams are so bad, they weren't winning those games. And you know why Brady won those games? Oh, because he's great. Yeah, because he's Brady. No, because the defense shut down the offense, even though he threw that pick. He did it to us when he was on the Bucs. We picked off Tom Brady, I think, 3 times, and they still beat us. I think I want to go through that real quick. Let's go through the playoff record of Aaron Rodgers starting in 2010. I just want y'all to see this. 2010, January 10th, NFC wildcard game. Arizona Cardinals. We're at Arizona. We lose 45-51 in overtime. You heard those numbers, right? Our defense gave up 51 points. Then 2010 NFC, this is when we make our run. This is in 2011 of January. We beat Philly 21-16. We beat Atlanta Falcons 48-21. We beat the Bears 21-14. And then we go to the Super Bowl 31-25. We win. Great. The next year, 2012, I was actually there. I was at the game. 2011 NFC Divisional Playoff. We lose to the New York Giants. How many points did our team give up? 37. It was 20-37. 72,080 people in attendance. I was one of them. That was cool to say, but sad to be there. Minnesota Vikings. We win that 2012 NFC wildcard playoff game, 24-10. Then what do? NFC divisional playoff. We lose to the San Francisco 49ers. How many points did we put up? 31. How many points did our defense give up? 45. They allowed 45 points. We lost that game putting up 31 points, and the defense let up 45. Next year, 2013 NFC wildcard playoff game. Our defense gave up 23 points. We put up 20. 20 should be enough when you get to the play. I'm just letting you know it should, because defenses tighten up, but we're over here giving up 45, 37, 23. Dallas, we beat them 26-21 in 2014. We win that. Then we go to Seattle. This game is like, this game hurt. So we gave up 28 points in overtime. At one point, we were up like 15-3. And they just let them come back. And Russell Wilson throws a bomb down the field in overtime. Our defense gives up the ball. We gave up 28 points. Washington in 2015, we beat them 35-18. What do? We go play Arizona in the NFC Divisional Playoff. We lose in overtime 20-26. We could not stop Larry Fitzgerald. That was the most ridiculous. It was a Larry Fitzgerald game. And what happened? Did they do anything about it? Did Larry Fitzgerald and Carson Palmer win it all that year? Nope. Then we go and play against the New York Giants in 2016. 38-13, we win. Then we beat the Dallas Cowboys. This was a great game. 34-31. That's when that kick was just like, that kick was incredible. But that was like our Super Bowl, right? Because we had such a great ending to that game. Everybody was hyped. And then I was on a plane ride the next week going to, I think, like Utah or something like that. And we played the Atlanta Falcons, and I watched this game on the plane. We lose 21-44. 44 points, guys. 44 points. The next year, we play Seattle, 2019. Not the next year, because we didn't make the playoffs. So we're in 2019 NFC Divisional Playoffs. We win 28-23, because remember, Aaron Rodgers had injuries, all types of stuff. We can't forget that. We're not going to revise history. Then we play the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC Championship game. This has to be the biggest beatdown that ever happened in NFL history. We give up like 300 yards on the ground. And the score we put up, I can't even really give us the 20 points. The 20 points was in garbage time, but they put up 37 points on us in a loss. Then 2020, Los Angeles Rams, we win 32-18. Then what happens? I remember Aaron was like, we haven't had a lot of these NFC championship games at home, so let's have them at home and let's see what happens. We lose. Tom Brady gets picked off at least twice. I want to say 3 times. And our defense gave up how many points? 31. 26 points we put on the board, 31 for the Bucs. Tom Brady won that game throwing like 3 picks. And then here's the only game, in my honest, humble opinion, you can really dog Aaron Rodgers for. 2021 NFC Divisional Playoff game against the 49ers. One of the few times Aaron doesn't put up 20 points. We lose to the 49ers 10-13. Now, you can give him that. I still don't think that's the case because our special teams gave up a touchdown. So that means, look, think about that. Our defense held the 49ers to literally 5 points the whole game. Like, come on. So, or 6 points. Sorry, 6 points. So it just doesn't make sense. Oh, goodness. So I'm going to end that here right now. I'm depressed today. I'm saddened. The great Aaron Rodgers is out for the season. I still think LeBron James had a better career than Aaron Rodgers, and I don't even like LeBron James and what he's done. Michael's still the greatest of all time. I don't care what anybody says. Until we see another one do it like he did, no one's coming close. There's like 1A, B, C, D, E, all the 1s, and then 2s and 3s are Michael Jordan. And when we get to 4 and 5, we can maybe think about the other players. But my goodness. But if I had to pick a career, I'm not picking Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. And I love that man. I don't care about his stupid off-the-field antics, and neither should you. Right? Neither should you. Why do you care about what people do in their private time? Why do you care about what people do behind closed doors? As long as it's not illegal, why do you care what other people do behind closed doors? It's none of your business. And if it's illegal, law enforcement will crack down and do what they need to do. That's what their job is. And I think they do a pretty decent job in this country. May not be perfect, but they do a pretty good job. So it's none of your business. Get your nose out their business. I'm the Lemesis, your nemesis, but you can call me Len. I'm just another cheesehead. I'm not an expert. I'm just a cheesehead. This is my 2 cents. Enjoy your evening.